We're live. Okay. All right. The numbers are clacking away and the red light is, it's not blinking, but it's on. All righty. Hello. I'm Verdi Abusto, and this is the Schumann Resonance Harmonics channel on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you for being here. I appreciate everyone for showing up. Thank you for your love, your support, the comments, and the Patreons. I have a new Patreon, Bradley. Thank you for being there, um, and thank you for supporting me in the other ways that you do as well. The number one cheerleader, Bradley, definitely. Um, and thank you for the rest of the Patreons and those who also go to the WordPress and the website and all the other different things that I do. Um, so if you're new here, welcome. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. It seems like a lot, but I guarantee you it'll be worth it. And that is how you keep your favorite channels on your recommended feed, is by interacting with them in a number of different ways. Not just, show up, but you keep commenting and you find share. You hit the share button, copy the link, that works. I do that a lot, copy the link. But I also do the share to Facebook through a group whenever I'm doing not whenever, but in a number of occasions when I've done a premiere, I've sent it over to Facebook, the share feature on that, and I like it. And if you would please hit the bell, because you have to hit the bell and select all notifications, or you are likely to get none. They specialize them for someone who is not you. So your specialized notifications is not specialized for you. Uh, just so we know that. A little functioning as the tech guy, I'm telling you technically how the YouTube algorithm works or doesn't work, as the case may be. All right, enough of this falderall. All right, so I just want to say again, thank you for being here. I it takes a lot to do the videos. Now I write, I was explaining to Tommy that I write a lot for the script for this. It's important because this is a technical show. It's important to have a script of some type so I don't get lost. I tend to want to wander, and I don't want to wander because the time in this is valuable, and I want to have it, you know, uh, compact. I want to have it all, you know, not distracted, not going off on tangents. I feel that's important. I have a kind of a visual uh, um, consistency. Oh, having a little hard time with the words here. And when I do the finished presentation, I have an idea of the consistency that I'm looking for, and how I wanted to, with me in the left hand side, and I've talked about this before, and the little me, so I'm always looking, at the audience because the camera is the audience. And I've talked about my design principles as I'm doing this, from a content creator standpoint. I like addressing this because there's a number of the audience who are also content creators, and uh, we are the star of our own show. I am the center of my own universe, and with that comes the YouTube channel, like it or not, and especially because I have technical skills, I need to put them to work, and kind of lead the way in that. Um, so I I make the videos with a certain design ethic in mind. And I have a script, and I want to make sure to keep to the script because I don't like getting distracted. I have a good enough among people among my audience who are like, don't worry about it. I'm distracted too, and I follow you, and it's all good, and I don't mind where you get distracted to, because even that's interesting. And I'm like, all right, cool, thank you. So even so as I'm designing everything, planning all the videos out, I like having a certain amount of things that are consistent so I don't have to keep figuring it out each time. Um, it takes a lot of time to do the videos. So there's what is me, for the hour, uh, for every hour of finished time of a video, there's another 5 hours of preparation time behind it. And that is not including anything that happens after the video is shown, the answering comments. So one video that is an hour long easily is 10 hours. And depending on how many comments and all this other stuff of maintaining the video, there's a big time investment in doing one video, especially if you have a popular channel. This is one of the things I was talking to Tommy about, and more so Captain Tommy, more so if you have a technical thing where there's a lot of research behind this that I do, and in a lot of cases it's specific research for something that I do. And so one video, I'm the deep dive guy. I've said this before. So one video may be months in preparation, depending on what it is. So in the case of this one here, uh, I started this data in 2018. Right? So we're getting on like 3+ years of prep time for this particular video that I'm doing right now. So when I do these, there's a certain amount of preparation time for that. Okay. In the obvious of getting everything compiled and making it all, putting it on the website, putting it on Patreon first, a lot of times, just to, so you know that. Thank you all for being there and supporting me. You're helping pay for my, support my dream. So Patreon, the website, the WordPress. I'm not doing so much with WordPress now, but the WordPress supports it's the share function of, in theory, it's the share function of the Schumann Resonance Harmonics Facebook, which is private. It is what it is. So, they were made to kind of go together. But we're talking about like a platform, right? These are a bunch of, it's all social media and everything, and I post everything for real, but this is a platform that I maintain. And so there's a lot of hours involved in this, and it's a labor of love, no complaints. So it's all good. Again, no complaints. Yet it's important for you all to know, and I'm talking about the 10 of you, Verde's Terrific 10, these videos are not for everyone. Even though I have, almost 3,000 people, I'm not popular, relative into YouTube land, but, that's fine. I don't need a whole lot of people. I want to make sure that the people that are getting this get this, and they get it. And that's what gets me in my heart, when you get this. And so as I'm doing this, the preparation time for doing this, getting kind of back on track, in the preparation time of doing this, I meditate on the videos. And, even though I have a sense of consistency in doing this, I want the levels to be consistent. I want, there's a lot of, like I said, design elements to this, a lot of technical elements. I want these to look good. I want it to sound good. I want me to be clear. I want this to be a comfortable, enjoyable experience for you. That's why Bonnie and Jackie, I'm happy for them getting me the mic and all of that. They're still, their name is still on there. Viewer and subscriber supported. Thank you. So with the consistency, and like I said, and making it as easy as I can, each video has its own flavor to it. Each video kind of tells a different story, and sometimes, even a longer narrative. Two videos are, even though I want them to be, like a continuation, they may not necessarily be because of, what happens. maybe a couple days later, actually, where I make the second part of it and I'm wearing different clothes. And, this is all the thing. This is the thing. Um, and sometimes the information changes between part one and two. It takes me so long to do these. It's a fun experience for all around, so all my videos have a different kind of flavor to them. The ones you see that technically how things have been improving for me, going from the ones in the beginning, it's the videos themselves tell fun narrative story to them. And as I loosen up in front of my own equipment, I'm getting more fun and smiling more. My as I am stepping into the DJ role that I've always wanted to be, and the writer that I've always wanted to be as well. I've never really wanted to be a teacher, but an instructor. I like being a mentor. I like being a guide. I'll take that. So the different quality. So where I'm going in this is the different quality of the videos. A lot of it come from as I'm developing the material. That's the basic way to look at it. As I'm developing the material for the video, there's the written part. I do that easily enough. But then there's like, all right, the script? How do I adopt the screenplay to video? And I'm one of the actors in this. Do I want to be the main? I'm a third. This is in photography proper. You have the third. The rule of thirds. So I am roughly one third of the production here. Not more than half. Not less than a quarter. So somewhere between a quarter and a third of the production, the feature of this is me. I'm the storyteller, I'm the narrative. This is coming from me. It's my research. I need to be in there. You're a great person. You have a face for video. You have a voice for radio and a face for video. Okay, a presence, a wonderful magnetic presence people love. Get up there, damn it, entertain people. All right, so I'm up here entertaining people with my wonderful presence, blah, blah, blah. I forgot where I was, but as part of the action, I'm in there as well. And so I need to determine as the director, how much of the main actor do you want in there? And sometimes the material itself should fill up the screen, and I'm happy with that. I'm really happy with that. But sometimes it doesn't, the main material doesn't need to be in there, and I'm soliloquizing and whatever, so I need to be in there. There's these design elements in there that are sort of really important as a motion picture. So I have to work with the script, the written material. And so sometimes I want these, like as I'm sitting with them and my guide's going to tell me, well, this should be like an audio book, a V-book. And like this is the particular case where this particular video is one of those ones where I should just be talking and not have, a lot of visual stuff up. Like if it's the words, I do that. And the scientific ones, I want you to see the words and, I read it as you're going along. So this is not one of those videos. It's a little different case. So, in the case of this, I'm not going to play so much music, I think, but I am going to pause between sections and we'll do like a stretch maybe. I don't know. I'm still working with this. This one's a little different, but I want to, maybe some music, but, the videos, I've said this before, I like sharing, and I'm going into all this detail because I like sharing this process with you all because it helps me connect with you. And if you don't care to hear about the technical process, then I'll mute you or hide you as a user. It's part of who I am. This is part of who I am. That's why I'm up here. I'm a very technical person and I enjoy the technical aspect of it and I enjoy talking about the technical aspect of it as well. And some of you, I know there's some of you that enjoy hearing about this as well. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of this. All right. So um, as I'm in the process of making the video and considering what it is, sometimes it's a matter of, like I said, like this is the talking word where I don't want to be in it myself, and kind of distract from the message, uh, a V book, as it were. Like, so I've done a number of these where I have given just a simple image, and I've read from the script on the other screen, and the focus is, you can just listen to me. You can zone out the visuals, and you don't have to, follow like the scientific text where you got to read it, and it's not one of those. This is one of those videos I've done before where it's a meditational type. Even though there is a learning here, like you can kind of shut your eyes off and just pay attention, or you can focus on, the neat, interesting graphic. Hopefully that'll be up there. And if the graphic gets boring for you, you can shut your eyes off and even just picture either what I'm saying or the visual that's given there. So this is one of those, it's important to have a period of digestion, ingestion, after you've taken in something. So this video is not one of the ones of the scientific type. I think I was saying this, and I got distracted. This is not one of the scientific type where I play music so you can get your mind off of, take a break between the hardcore science and more hardcore science. So this may be a learning thing. Hopefully it is a learning thing, but this is not one of those hardcore science things where I need a break. This is this doesn't require the music, so I may not play as much music. I'm still working with my guides on how to do this particular one. We are still meditating on doing this, but they said, do the introduction, start this, play some music, get that going, and then, pause it and wait for the next instructions. So, that's fine. Okay. So, so this one will be one of those kind of V-book, I'll talk, you listen kind of things. Not really teaching, but there's a guide quality to this. So, all right, so we're at like 19 minutes here. And I believe I touched on the issue of, each video I meditate on and let the material direct me. And sometimes it's difficult, and sometimes I figure it out on the spot. I'll just let you know. Wages World, I love you, Mark. You can drink this Kool-Aid. Who put me on the map here? He says, the shimmer resonances and much, much more. And he's absolutely right. And this is one of these much, much more cases here. All right, so I think we got some music in the background. I'm going to play a little bit of music, and then I'm going to read the introduction to this, and then I think play some more music before we get into the material. And I do a slow kind of introduction. A lot of these are premieres these days, and so I have a kind of extended introduction I do so that a lot of the notifications don't always get out in time. So, the extended introduction is for that purpose of the premiere, so that, people who are late can, don't miss the main event. Like I said, all of the material is up there. A lot of times it's been copy and pasted, and I expound on what's there. So even if you miss it, like it's still, the information's there, and then, you can catch it later. So, but people like the live chat with, the live feature with the chat. And so that's one of the beautiful things of why I like doing the premiere is the live chat. So, there's the beginning part of it for a lot of people that are there when we're doing this extended introduction. and who can get my my attention there. How you doing? It's great. It's a social time. And then as the information moves on, it becomes more in depth, and we start developing conversations. And hopefully I don't lose my cool. I can get passionate about my side or what I know, or any of this. So I'm working on responding in what I say with, kind, loving words. And that's more important. How I say something is more important than what I say. And that is a spiritual principle. All right. So we're going to play music for a little bit. And then I'm going to come back. And I don't know, enough for you to get a drink, a coffee, have a smoke, smoke break, one lap dance. I think I said that, I don't know if probably not the last one, but the one before that, the lap dance length break song. So on that note, we will play a lap dance length song for you to get a cigarette and a refill or whatever. So on that cheery note, Mr. DJ. Okay, we're back. I think we're back. Yeah, or less back. Okay, thank you. And the music is courtesy of Aronmix, my good friend, the lighted DJ. All right. So um 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 once again, thank you for being here. I appreciate everyone for uh hanging out with me and enduring all the ums and throat clearing and whatever. Uh the So I have already done a video on this. All right. And the abstract. Um and in whenever I do the scientific uh, there's scientific papers, the research, there's always an abstract. And this is a common thing. They give you the synopsis of the research, what their findings are, of the question or what the problem is, and then the basic, it's the nutshell version, the elevator pitch, as it were, of the synopsis of their research, the findings. So I did a video. The short version of this is an hour and a half of both part one and two. Um, and so this video here is going to be part one and just dealing with the meditation. So, um, so in the first part, which I didn't do as a premiere, I just put it out there as a regular video. It wasn't live. There's no live chat with it. I just wanted to be out there so people have that information. So, because I don't know how long it's going to take me to do the rest of this. And believe me, a 13-minute, let me pause myself on my narrative. I'll say this. What I've been finding on my website, it tells me, it gives a certain amount, 13 minutes. It says up here, 13-minute read. And that's essentially supposed to give you a more or less a clue of how long it'll take you to read it, the average person. I assure you, it's not going to take you what that says, 13 minutes. Add a zero to the end of it, that'll be closer to how long it'll take you. As long as the video length is for me, like it'll take you that long usually to get through it. I wrote the thing and I'm like, no, it wouldn't take me 13 minutes to get through this, and not understand it. Not one of my, not one of my things. They're very dense when I don't go off. That's why I like writing, because I can see what's there. I don't go off track, and it's like I can see when I'm going off track, and I bring myself in. And then if I have gone off track, oh no, that's what the delete and the erase functions are for. And just I've always loved that. Can't do that with talking. It's a net. It's a tangle of words. The more you add, the more naughty it gets. Like, no, there's no erase function, there's no delete function with the words once it's out there. Oh, good golly. So anyway, on that cheery note, uh, so I've done, the video on the abstract. I've explained basically what this is, and if you haven't seen that video already, the abstract, the part one to the, it'll be 3-part series, when I'm done. But the abstract just always gets a zero. I don't usually number that. The preface, a lot of times I call it the preface of the abstract when I do these. And so, go there, look at it, spend some time, hit the pause button, go back. A lot of the stuff that I talk about, it's not so much intellectual, but it's very profound. It's very deep. There's, a level of vocabulary to it that, sometimes can be difficult to get past. And so that's why I ask people, please leave comments. If there's words in there I've used and you don't get the vocabulary and what I'm talking about, please write me a comment. Say, I don't understand this word, that word, this phrase, when you went off there, I didn't understand that. Can you explain this a little better? If someone leaves a comment with a question mark in there, I will always answer the question. people leave comments and they use question words, but they don't put a question in there. So I'm not always sure if they're asking a question. And, it's a loophole. I realize that. But, oh, good golly, English is not my first language. So it may not be yours as well. And that's why we use punctuation. It's like traffic signs, traffic signals on the road for common courtesy so that I don't smash into you and so that I can, I know to wait or pause or it's a question mark, it's a question like these kind of things. So the basic grammar, it kind of matters if you're asking a question and, you would like an answer to the question. And so that just one of the things that I offer. If you have a question that you want answered, please ask it. Please phrase it as a question with a legitimate question mark. Thank you. So I've already done the introduction to this, the abstract, which gives a synopsis, and this is part of and I explained this is part of the Lifeboat series. I have my own lifeboat thing that I was uh, going to consider doing before I did the Schumann resonances, but with Tommy's kind of this is to be done with Tommy. It's not in conjunction with him, but it's something that is of the lifeboat um, quality when we talk about recovery to addicts, right? So that's when I talk about the Lifeboat series, that's what I'm talking about. Recovery for, addicts and alcoholics. And so it's not related only to Tommy Scoville's lifeboat, but it is, the concept behind his lifeboat for people in recovery. Okay? I think that, I think that explains it pretty good. When I say this, I want to kind of make sure to specify that it's not done for him, but we both have the same goal. Put it that way. So specifically, the topic here, this topic is meditation, and this is a tough topic for a lot of people getting into recovery, or even if they've been around for a while, to kind of understand what the value of meditation. We address this through the scientific and technical facet of electromagnetics, with the human entity as a component of the electromagnetic circuit of Gaia, which is the living intelligent planet, as I refer to the Earth ground. In addition to that are some ideas how meditation can improve this connection between you and the planet, you and your higher power, but you and the planet specifically. And I will just offer you this: if you were to keep the planet Gaia as the living creature itself as a higher power, and listened to the planet, you would do well. You probably would stop drinking and doing drugs, because the planet doesn't want you to have that type of connection to her as a damaged person. I'll just say that. All right, so I'm going to play a little bit more music, I think, and then I'm going to get into the material itself. I have a preface to read. Oh, all right, so I'm going to play a few more minutes of this Aronmix. Let you have some more coffee, and oh, please. I had before I get into the music and all of that, I have this up because I was this is it says it's the principle of the 33rd spine, right? And so this is something interesting that I think a lot of people would not consider, are these philosophical, metaphysical values that are lodged in the spine itself. So one of the how do I say this? One of the more advanced purposes of the Eastern traditions is to unlock these different keys from the spine. All right. And so I think that's how to say that, best say that, that you may look at these as spiritual principles, and that's what they are, but as you kind of, how do I say this? You know how if you've ever gotten your back cracked, you feel just better? Not cracked like, you fall off a ladder and hurt your back, you're not breaking your back, but you go to a chiropractor and he just moves stuff around and then you feel better. Well, there you have it. This is what is happening. You have these principles that are released within your cellular memory that get um, activated, tapped into. I'm not sure what the word I'm looking for is. I know what the word is. I'm not sure the word I can give you that you would understand what it is. But if you've been to a chiropractor and they do all the back thing, and I will tell you this, I I'm not a Reiki master, but I do have the certain, ability, with my fingers, to evoke some massage higher thing in people. All right, and I have done that. And I don't it's not a thing I advertise. I'm not a Reiki master, but I have Reiki like skills. I'll put it that way. Uh I'm not trained in this lifetime as a Reiki person, but I know a lot of the principles. Um so uh anyway, the analogy here is that my script is like the backbone, and so that's sort of the way I think of this, as there's principles that are involved, but I go in depth as I show the visual aid. I explain more in depth about what what the script entails. So this is a nice, cute kind of analogy, but it is also applicable to spiritual principles and what I'm talking about. The hidden knowledge that is hidden within the genetics of the body itself. This is something that the advanced meditation helps us to tune into. That may be the best word I'm looking for. Okay, I think I'm at the portion of being ready to play more music. So I got a nice image on the uh, background that we can meditate upon while we're Aronmixing things up. I think what I'm gonna do is play some music, a certain amount of music, and then consider whether or not I'm going to get back into the text or go downtown and spend an hour or so at the club, see if Aaron's there, or whoever is there, and see whatever. So I'm gonna play some music, and I'm likely going to put my socks and shoes on, and I'm likely gonna go downtown. But what I do know is, in this moment, I'm gonna play some music. We got some ideas. Hey, Mr. DJ.
makes me wanna dance.
Oh yeah, it's time. My guides have said it's stopped raining out. It was raining earlier. My guide said to, like I was planning on, staying in. But it's like there's still, an hour and change for the night, and just I'm gonna go out for a little bit and see what's happening, and hopefully I will remember. I put a note here, so hopefully I'll remember where I'm at. But either way, it'll be fun. And we'll pick up either way. It'll be part of the unique character of this video. So on that cheery note, I will see you all when I get back in one way or another. All right. So cheers. Okay, I'm back. All right. Well, it's the next day. It's now 9:05 a.m. So I don't have any fear of speaking loudly at this point, or as loudly as I'm going to in these videos. Well, it turns out, okay, it was still raining. So I enjoyed the rain on the front porch. I had a medicinal smoke, considered what I was going to be doing at that point. I'm not going downtown, but I did decide to go to the Express Mart, and I got some cup of noodles, some smart food, and and some lemon and cherry Italian ice. I also contemplated the rain itself, how liquid water falls from the sky. That's not something that happens on all of the planets. In fact, there's not many that happens on. And a lot of other planets have like liquid methane that rains down, or molten iron that rains down on the planet. So I was considering how blessed and fortunate Earth is to be covered in liquid water, and then for it also to rain down from the sky on us. a pretty miraculous. It's one of those things I'm talking about being miraculous, a miracle, and we can let it easily, get by us and not consider it, and before it eludes us. And for the record, I think I'll just kind of talk for a minute here because this is the lifeboat, and this is kind of related. The meeting, the topic of this meeting was spiritual kindergarten, and I like that as a topic that was in the As Bill Sees It book, which we do every Sunday at the morning meeting I go to. And it was a great discussion. And I was the last one to talk. And I gave a little bit of discussion on spiritual kindergarten and what that means. And a lot of the people there know I do a YouTube channel, and I don't talk about it much at the group, but a lot of times what happens at the group will come this way. And it doesn't necessarily go from here to there, but it definitely comes from there to here. And so, we talk about the spiritual kindergarten being a place of growth, early growth in the program. I heard it said at a meeting. I didn't drink when I was in kindergarten, but I could have used one, and that's what I said. I was certainly felt like I needed one. Kindergarten was just, it was rough. You think, oh, hey, it's a lot of fun, but it was learning. It's the first time you start learning stuff. And they build a foundation. I love there's a book called Everything I Need to Know in Life I Learned in Kindergarten. And it talks about the basic lessons that we learn. And here it's the same thing there. That's true. It's the same thing I say here with the Schumann resonances is understand the basics first. And it's the same thing with the spiritual program. You understand the basics first. Work with the basics. What are the basics? That's spiritual programs are the basics, and it is a spiritual program, a spiritual principle. It is a spiritual principle to perfect the basics, get the basics right, work with the basics first. I've said that. I say that at meetings when I go there. I remind this of you. I tell you in comments always. Get the basics first. What do we know? What do we know for certain? And then let's build from that. Okay. It seems simple enough to understand. And so that's one of the things that kindergarten represents. And in a sense, doing this is the Schumann resonance's kindergarten. I'm giving you the most basic things, even though the material itself is advanced. I have stuck from the beginning with the idea that I need to provide the most basic of information first, so you understand the vocabulary, you understand the Schumann resonances and atmospheric electromagnetics from a basic level. So that's what this is. It's a technical kindergarten for you to understand the true spiritual nature of the Schumann resonances. And I offer you, it's not what people say it is or what they believe it is. So one of the things that I think it's important for the newcomer to work with, to understand, is the principles. This is not only the Schumann resonances of my channel and the Facebook, but of the spiritual side of this, that we work with principles first, principles before personalities. What are our principles? What are the spiritual and scientific principles that we operate by? I've said this a few times. I don't say it often, but one of my sayings is I care less about the facts than the principles. I care much more about the principles involved of how you got the facts. what are you using? All right, sometimes people are using equations, and that tells me, a certain something. I may or may not be able to read the equation, but it tells me something. But I need to know the principle behind it. And that's one of the things that I stress in doing this, both the shimmer resonances side and this here lifeboat side, which I'm developing as well, is the principles, the spiritual and the technical principles involved. And so that's, I guess, one thing, if anything, one of the biggest things that separates me, my mission, I guess, my lifeboat from what Tommy's doing. We work together. We certainly have a lot of stuff overlap. Um, but at some level, I'm bringing the advanced electromagnetics into it, and I guess a scientific thing on that end that he's not really working with. I'm always trying to incorporate the Schumann resonances and the AC and the DC circuit and all of that, and us as components in the bigger picture of this. And so these are the principles that I'm working with here. Um, and so one of the things, I'm just going to say this and get on to the reading, because it's important to know this, because this is the Lifeboat series here, and we're talking directly about drinking and drugs and alcohol, and there are scientific principles involved in this, that at the kindergarten level, right? Okay, if I haven't lost you, quantum superpositioning. There's a phrase called, a term, a concept called superpositioning. And in quantum physics, superpositioning is basically the presence of both a one and a zero bit. It can be both, it can be either or neither, or they can operate at the same time. It's a qubit, they call this. It's this. It's a new concept for people to wrap their head around, of being two things being at the same place at the same time. They're not exactly the same thing, but they do occupy the same space in time. And so uh, the quantum superpositioning of this is that you can be drinking and doing drugs and also still have a desire to stop drinking. It's important to understand that they're not mutually exclusive, that just because you are drinking doesn't mean that you also don't have a desire to stop drinking. This is the program, the physics behind this, that yeah, the two of them are not mutually exclusive, meaning they can occupy space at the same time, same space in a person's head and in their heart. And I offer with that is absolutely a thoroughly miserable place to have to be, and a space to have to operate in, is to have a desire to stop drinking, but to drink anyway. So let me offer you that. Let me offer you this, what I've just said, to kind of summarize it, hopefully to bring it back around here to the pathway at hand, is that this, what I just said, that state of bewilderment, of seeming hopelessness, that, those people, is the purpose. That's the audience. Those are the people. That's what this is for. That's what this meditation, what this series is about, what it's for. The people that it's supposed to be helping, what this is about, are the people who might otherwise be hopeless. This is meditation for the alcoholic and addict, but it might very well be meditation for the hopeless. And so that, generally speaking, you are my people, this is my group, this is my people, the ones who seemingly are hopeless, helpless, uh, and who just can't seem to find the doorway out of the funhouse, house of horrors. There's a door there somewhere, but a lot of the haunted houses that you go to, like the last room, is kind of they hide the exit and maybe some mirrors in there and some smoke, and you really have a difficult time finding. I wasn't even drinking one time. I couldn't find my way out of the horror house, and the ride was over, and I was just trying to get out, and it wasn't scary anymore. And you step on a certain thing and the alarm goes off, and it's just part of the thing. It scares you, but it's like, oh, give me a break. Where is it? And finally, the attendant who was in charge of it, had to actually come in, and he showed me just those, like, right there. And like, oh man, are you fucking kidding me? I was like, I thought I hit that. I'm like, all right, nope, no, you didn't. No, the attendant had to come and get you out of there. Uh, so so this is what the meditation is designed to help people. There's not a specific meditation, but if I maybe can explain it in a little different way to the person, maybe this idea of meditation will not be too far fetched, too far flung for you to wrap your head around. And so that's, generally speaking, to get, kind of to get back into the text here, to get on track, what I'm talking about with doing the series here. And honestly, it's not out of question to write a book about this. The first video I did was the abstract, like I said. That was the introduction. The text for the video was basically, it was October 10th to the 4th, part of the Lifeboat Series, meditation and prayer meditation as a cohesive practice for the addict in recovery. That's a long title. Some of them have that long title. In this video, I will be expanding at length on meditation as a practice relative to addicts and alcoholics in recovery. We can find all sorts of books and literature on meditation as a practice relating to Buddhist and other religions and wisdom traditions. However, hold on. Yet, there are no books which are dedicated to the practice of meditation to people in recovery, or as directed to someone who's in recovery. I would like to write a book on this topic as perhaps a reference guide for people who are struggling with this very issue. Since there's no books on this topic, I would like to write the book on this. The field is wide open. I'll just say that. The program, when I say the program, it's simply a pathway of recovery and healing using spiritual principles. Specifically, I refer to the 12 steps of the anonymous programs as the basis for a dedicated program of recovery. Now, let me just say this. There are multiple paths that a person can take to sobriety. All right. There are multiple ways that a person outside of the 12-step program can gain spiritual growth. If you are not too far gone, if you are not too badly pickled as an addict or an alcoholic, you could achieve some type of spiritual growth just going to church, a religion of your choice, say. Go to a Catholic church. If you're from, that may not be that you may not need AA if you're not too bad, a 12-step program. However, if you are that bad, and honestly, By that bad means you've been death or near death, right? So the people who are my people and who this is geared toward and who are going to benefit from this are the people who aren't getting something from religion. And the only thing that they're getting something from is a spiritual program of recovery, specifically AA. And let me offer you this, that if you don't have a program of recovery, you do need someone to talk to, right? And there is a lot to be said for the spiritual element of coming from the heart, the love of one person for another. Okay? Now, counselors do their job because they love it. There's a certain element to counseling that works if you give yourself into it. But addicts are squirrely, cagey. We can be deceptive. And again, it depends how far down you have gone. Jails, institutions, and death. If you haven't hit the trifecta, again, jails, institutions, and death. Right? It's important to know that. Right? That's your minimum standard of operation: jails, institutions, and death. Have you been to all three of those? Then you're, and let me say this, I share this, that your standard of death would be not necessarily your death, but someone else's death. If you were there, overdosed at the same time as someone else, you lived and they died, or you were there at the same time someone died, maybe you didn't, or you're with someone who is an addict and you died and they brought you back. I give an example of blackout driving. If a person drove their car home in a blackout, that is a trifecta. That is close to a death because you don't know if you killed someone. That's close enough to a death, right? It's not a death, but it's within that sphere that you don't know if you if you've ever when you've woken up, checked your car to see if you had blood or hair in the grill. That counts as an honorarium of a death honorarium. That's a jail and an institution, because you may not get jail, they may put you in an institution, but you will likely get, if you get pulled over in a blackout, they'll bring you to jail automatically. So, and especially if you have a high blood alcohol level, you're closing death. So blackout driving, especially if you get pulled over, that counts as an honorary death, jail, and an institution, a trifecta. And there's other things like that, stealing, shoplifting alcohol from a store and hurting a security guard. That's all right. You get a trifecta there. These things, threefer, as we call them, 3-in-1. So these are examples of that. So, there's that point, the pickled point. How far gone are you? How far did you go? Right? Jails, institutions, and death. Right? So if you're not too far gone, then yeah, you could substitute a counselor and a good work life and a balanced work life and all of these kind of things, and you can do a reasonably decent life without being in the 12-step program. However, you do need to have, a person does need to have some type of a spiritual pathway. And part of that is meditation, and we're going to get into what meditation is in the text later on. And so it's important to put this in context, that meditation itself, as well as prayer and meditation, is a valuable spiritual component of recovery. If once again, if you didn't go that far down, then you probably don't need a spiritual path of recovery, and the love of your wife or the love of your kids might suffice. if you did get almost that far down and you have a loving wife and a loving family, that love itself may be a suitable substitute for a higher power, working higher power in your life. However, if your family done left you, or like me, all of your family and everyone is gone. Either they all overdosed and bye bye, or they're just old and they passed on, or you made them worry themselves to death, right? Heavy living, drinking, worried them to death. That's a thing. You put stress on your parents' life. That's a thing, you know. You took took life off of the end of their, I mean, that's a thing that happens. Uh, so these are things to consider, that if a person doesn't have that type of a strong family bond, or the family doesn't want nothing to do with you, you burnt the bridges, you burned out your welcome, you burned out the family members, they don't want you know anymore, they don't want to hear anything anymore, then you have to come up with another option. Is a bowling league going to take its place? Is just counseling itself, where you're paying the person $120 an hour, is just that hour in itself going to do it? No, probably not. Depending, again, depending on how far down you went, depending on how far down the alcoholic addict went, is the measure of the the degree to which a person needs to get involved in a spiritual program of recovery. So yeah, your family can take place of that. If you have a church, that's fine of that. However, the spiritual path of recovery has to be one that is for the alcoholic. Basically from the alcoholic to the alcoholic, because we know how we think. That's why it's important. Your pathway of recovery involving other people has to be your kind. It's just that simple. And so my kind are bikers, people who have cyclists, right? Those are my people. Artists, people that plant flowers, people that plant plants in downtown, gardeners, people that love coffee, um, like these are my people, and I can get some type of a fulfillment from getting a spiritual, having some type of a spiritual fulfillment from having a great social life with my people. But ultimately, if I am an alcoholic, I'm going to want to drink again. That that topic is going to come up for review when I feel that bad, or something has happened where it triggers me. I will feel that bad, and that is when I need help. And that's when I need to be with my people. And it's now no longer having a social life, a healthy social life, that can take the place of the spiritual healing before, or that would offset the pre-drink insanity. Hopefully that made sense. But having a great, if I'm a problem drinker and I didn't get that far, right? That's, a social life where I meet people that are like me, right? And I will find that elsewhere, right? Because the problem drinker is not like the alcoholic, right? We have reached a certain point. What is that? Jails, institutions, and death. That is the easy button mark of distinction, if that makes sense to you. How can you tell the difference? Right? Well, the alcoholic has no off switch. When I start, I'm not stopping. When I start, there's no telling where we're going to end up. Maybe it'll be a good night, but maybe not. So that's the difference between me as an alcoholic, or that's the problem drinker I am, that I go beyond the problem drinking, and I just straight up go into, sick drinking, unhealthy activity that's not fun anymore. So I think I've gone in depth about when I talk about the program, I I I largely am talking about my own specific pathway of the 12 steps of the anonymous program, but the bigger, broader umbrella of the program is a spiritual pathway with spiritual principles that you operate by. A person is a principled person. So, simply put, just because someone puts down the chemicals, just because someone isn't doing oxys anymore, but they have a lot of they're still out stealing stuff, and they're substituting other negative behaviors for the oxys. They're not running a program. That's not a program of recovery. That's an addict behavior. That's a script for relapse, basically. It's not a script for recovery. It's a script for relapse, essentially. And again, for me, the point of demarcation is the pickled point. What's the pickled point? Jails, institutions, and death. And if you've tried all the rest of, I went to a doctor, they said there's nothing wrong with me, that quitting drinking wouldn't cure, right? If, the medical professional, if the medical professional's view of me is not that I have a tumor, but that there's nothing wrong with me, that stopping drinking won't heal, if that's what the medical professional's view of me is, then that is, how do I say that? That's beyond problem drinking, right? And so I should take that under advisement, and that is kind of that would be one of those demarcations of too far, right? You go to the doctor, you don't have a tumor, you don't have a brain tumor or an aneurysm, but the doctor says you just stop drinking and you'll be better. That's one of those. And if I go for a second opinion to another doctor, that may be a sign I'm an alcoholic or an addict, either or. That would be one of my personal demarcation. So again, too far. If a person has not gone too far, then most likely standard accepted practices of organized religions will be solution enough. So just if you didn't get to the pickled point, and you're thinking maybe meditation itself would help, like, yeah, the Buddhist meditation will help you, sure, absolutely. Any kind of meditation will help you, absolutely. And it's a good thing to keep in mind that even if you are an alcoholic, like any of those meditations, mindfulness they're all good practices to have under your belt, to learn about. However, many of us have gone that far. The pickled point. And when I say the pickled point, what do I mean by that? Well, we have a small kind of a koan, as you will, a little one of our little sayings, that once you've become a pickle, you can't go back to becoming a cucumber. So the pickle point is once you've reached that pickle point with the alcohol or the drugs, you're not going back to becoming a cucumber. We have come from, so many of us have gone that far. We have come from traditions that use a heavy or abusive hand in controlling the flock, the sheep, as it were, and in some cases. And that's how a lot of religions view the people, the congregation, as a flock. We have rebounded from the abusive creator model through the use of chemicals, distilled spirits, pharmaceuticals, and destructive behavior as a whole. So maybe not rebounded, but we've rebelled. I think that was the word I was looking for. We've rebelled from the abusive creator model through our abusive behavior, self-abuse. Here, take that, God, and you're down a half a pint, to the destructive abuse of God. someone who said this. I'm trying to remember the expression. Drinking is the disease that uh, I drink thinking it's going to make someone else sick. I think I'm trying to remember exactly how that phrase is, but it's close to it. And it's the disease that makes me drink thinking it's making someone else sick. I'll have to remember exactly what that expression is, but it's something to that effect. Um, so because I hurt, I'm drinking at you. Like if you've been at meetings long enough, you may hear that expression. You're likely to hear that expression. I was drinking at someone, or I was drinking at something. And I think that's generally what that, if you've heard that before and you didn't know what it means, that's sort of what it means. Or you may, of yourself, know what that means, you know. Um, uh, a large part, okay, of the program, a large part of the program at work involves a refashioning of the concept of, or the concept behind, a higher power, which is a living, loving power greater than myself. Okay? For lack of a better one, we substitute the love of one addict for another. In this case, this includes inside as well as outside of recovery. All right, so addicts that are out there using, they'll a lot of times take care of each other because they know what it's like to be dope sick. And so they may not have much of a feeling for other people, but they certainly have a feeling for their kind, if you've been using with someone long enough, they help you out, you help them out, same way with, with herb, you know, people that smoke, it's like they may not give you any, but they'll smoke you up some a lot of times. Or cigarette smokers, the same thing. That there's a love, and it's more so when you get in recovery. You feel that a person starts to feel the love of an addict in recovery for another one, is when we start helping each other. Right? That's we hold the candle for you when you can't hold it for yourself. That's we hold a seat for you when you're not able to hold a seat for yourself. Um, so one of we eventually around the third step in the the 12 steps is the point where you start fashioning your higher power. What do you want? Where you start customizing your higher power, like your vehicle. You're ordering your car. It's like you're ordering your higher power. What do you want it to have? What functions and accessories do you want it to have? Uh, so this is early on in the program before you can really get any further. Is you have to have a working concept of a higher power, and some addicts in recovery go back to church. They go and find Jesus again. They go and find their whatever the spiritual religious tradition, and it's all good. That's fine, right? It's not for me to say for anyone else. So without having a working higher power, a working God in your life, it's very difficult to to um to start doing a program, otherwise doing a program of recovery. So so early on in this, sometimes what needs to happen is people substitute a working higher power or something their own uh, higher power on this for the love, again, the love that one addict would have for another. And it's important to note that this is a very strong force, and it can act where nothing else can or does or will. And you see it in the rooms often enough. And it is something that is hard to that's the word I'm looking for. It's hard to dispute, it's hard to argue against that it is not a force to be felt. Um, and early on in the program, when people are struggling with the desperation of early recovery, when they're struggling with the guilt and the shame, perhaps the only true working higher power that can be seen is the love, that love. One addict helping another, one addict for another. It's there. And that we call the the God of the program. Right? That we're not debating the creator of the universe. We're not debating what happens after like you die. A lot of us have kind of already been there. We don't really want to think about it. Death is pretty miserable. Time to get on living. Like that's what this is for. The people who are struggling with just being able to find the spirituality of in life itself, of doing the dishes, for example. Um, so there are other examples of spiritual principles that are involved that we can use as example of higher powers, but the love of one addict for another is the one that carries the day most often. Um, so without a remake of a reconception, refashioning, remake of the concept of a higher power, we are lost and we're not getting far in recovery. Our growth is stalled because the life and love of the program is not available to circulate like our own life and lifeblood and breathing. So basically, if you shut off the spiritual aspect of the program, the vital lifeblood of the program of recovery is going to be gone. And yes, the part of the program of recovery is getting a job, getting a good job, and not necessarily one that pays a lot, but one that makes you feel like you're worth something, right? That's a good job. Something where you're giving back to people, where you're being of service to people. That's a good job. Where you're giving back to your family, these kind of things. Um, but there has to be that spark of life in there somewhere, which is also the motivation for wanting to have fun and getting involved in with hobbies and getting a life back and getting some life back into your life, that you're not just a automaton going through the day substituting a drink or a drug for work and becoming a workaholic, not thinking about life at all. I mean, I can identify with that. But getting back into a life, getting a life second to none, and being present for your life. Like this is what recovery is about. Is not just getting better, but having a life that you never had before. I think that's the best, fairest way to put it. Recovery is essentially, it's not going back to what you had, but it's to have something better than you had before, and something that expression beyond your wildest dreams. Yes, yes, something close to that. And I don't live in a I live in a modest place, but doing this YouTube channel, I have shared this. It substitutes for being a DJ, for me being a writer. I have I have a great following of people, and I have, like, it's just doing this channel is just has been an amazing experience for me. And I would say it's close to life beyond my wildest dreams. It's helping support me in a very real sense, and in on a number of ways. So so as just an example, and this is just the beginning, right? As I put down the ballast, as I put down the bat, stop beating myself, I can take that time and spend it toward something more fun and deliberate, and maybe educational, I guess, but fun. And
Um, fun. I just need to, stress that. That as you put the bat down, things become more fun because it's not a drag. All right, so it's time for music. And I'm going to, uh, I guess, get something to eat and use a bathroom. I don't know what. But it's a good place for a nice, relatively long music break. And I guess I'll see you on the flip side of that.
Okay, we're back. I am definitely pausing this. Loving it. All right. Please. We're back. Okay. All right. Let's get on with our text. Meditation. What is it? At its simplest point, meditation is simply mindfulness or focus and attention to the present moment. It is not sitting doing nothing. We are never, ever actually doing nothing. Even simple sitting requires a certain form. In recovery, we are directed through prayer and meditation to maintain constant contact with a higher power. It's technically, that is step 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve my constant contact with a higher power of my understanding. Meditation is simply listening with singleness of intention. Prayer is simply a request or a petition before one's higher power. We are going to evaluate both of these states. Meditation and prayer and meditation. Right? First, we look at meditation as a practice related to addicts and alcoholics. So this video, by and large, is just going to deal with meditation and not the cohesive practice of prayer and meditation. Okay. Who's steering this thing? In recovery, we are not told to find the creator of the universe, simply a working power greater than one's self. This leaves a wide range of possible powers or forces we might call upon to aid us. And I like to say, I don't think I've said this here in this video or one of the other ones, I consider the AA program to be a mystery school. Not a religion, it's a mystery school. And there's a certain language, a lingo, a vernacular that comes with that also is mystery language as well. And so if one were to not think of the program as religious in nature, we're not looking at God, the creator of the universe, but we're looking at, the God of our understanding, the God of my own personal understanding, my own choosing. That is a different element than me looking at the creator of the universe. And I think I'll go into this in more depth, but that's the difference between the program, the working program, and a religion, is that we're not debating the fate of the universe or, the creator of the universe or any of that. We'll accept that there is one. The God of the program may be that, but that's not what the program is imposing upon you to get it to work. So again, that leaves us a wide range of possible powers or forces you can call on. And you know the wonderful thing? You can call on all of them if you need to. We look to a power that is greater than ourselves. We are called to question what our self is. If I am in control, then who or what is in control? One of the questions that I think we need to ask in reference to handing my will over to a power greater than myself, who or what, is myself. Those of us who have lived through our death. Oh, some of these words are so difficult to have to say without stumbling over itself. Those of us who lived through our deaths perhaps on the installment plan, one drink or one hit at a time, understand death in an intimate way that the normal people, the normies, the regular people never will. Through touching death, we find where the edge of life is. We come to understand a power greater than ourselves in a way that the non-alcoholic or the non-addict or alcoholic does. Death is certainly a power greater than ourselves. We realize upon waking up from what would have killed us or what would have killed someone else that didn't kill us, then you come to in the hospital and you start questioning everything. The others have the luxury to debate this philosophically, but we do not. We don't have that option. Those of us in recovery who have outlived our death don't have this option. In recovery, I need to find a practical solution to replace the feeling and sensation which leads to the drinking. So what they call the pre-drink insanity, that state of mind that precedes a drink, knowing what I know about how I drink and how alcohol affects me, what it's going to do, I drink it anyway. That is the pre-drink insanity. Me obsessing in my head about how it'll be different this time, how I just want one. We come to understand a power greater than ourself. Oh, I think I just read that. Addiction at its most basic element, and there's different people have different views on this, and there's all kinds of different definitions of addiction. But from my perspective, I'll offer you this: addiction at its most basic element is that I am substituting a physical thing in exchange for dealing with an emotional pain that has left a void that I am looking to have filled by the physical object. And a relationship, look in the dictionary, relationship is a noun that makes it a thing. So a relationship very much could theoretically be used to fill that void in my heart. There is an unresolved pain or trauma in my life that has been ignored or allowed to fester, which is looking for resolution. It is also true that these emotional scars go deeper than simply our individual lives. We carry within our DNA the genetic memory of the abuse that our parents were subjected to and that they may have subjected us to as well. Unless this is properly dealt with, the resonance of this behavior is still present within the DNA. So within your parents' DNA and within their DNA, it never gets dealt with. And that's what's really important to understand here. All right, so let's take a moment to breathe. All right. Okay, I'm just going to take a moment to focus on our breathing. Properly, when we are doing our deep breathing meditation, you want to breathe in through the nose for a count of 5. You can say it out loud or you can keep it in your head. Probably keep it in your head. So as we're breathing in through the nose, a measured count of 5. Then we hold that for 5, count of 5. Then you exhale through your mouth to a count of 5, an even measured count of 5. Hold, then start the cycle again. For 5 seconds, you hold, and then you breathe in to a count of 5 through the nose, hold for 5, exhale through the mouth for 5, hold for 5, breathe in through the nose to a count of 5, hold to a count of 5, exhale to a count of 5, hold to a count of 5. Okay. And so that is the basic form of the breathing meditation. Okay. Next section. Coding versus non-coding DNA. In other essays, I have discussed the issue of the non-coding DNA comprising 93% of the reality of the human in this planet. So one of the recent previous videos that I did, I explained about this, the coding versus the non-coding DNA. And this is a rather comprehensive subject for one to wrap their head around. Okay, so I'll just say that. This is a very um, in-depth topic to kind of wrap your head around, especially for someone new into this. 7% or less of you is what actually makes you unique as an individual. So the non-coding DNA is what they call junk DNA. The coding part is actually closer to 3 or 4% of the uniqueness of you. 7% of the active will principle allows for mutations and spontaneous healing to occur. Yet, there needs to be a conscious effort directed toward allowing the space and the potential to happen. What do I mean by that? 7% of the active will principle allows for mutations. So out of part of the offset of the principle of free will and having the veil of Maya and the ability to kind of spontaneously jump without being constrained by your lineal lineal genetic DNA. Part of that, the uniqueness that makes you you, there's a small part of it, allows for mutations. It allows for things that weren't otherwise scripted. And so that allows for the beautiful symphony that is life down here to happen. And it's what makes it interesting and wonderful and a little bit infuriating as well. And so that active principle, the active will of the 7%, which is being generous, but that is what makes you you. It's what makes you unique. The rest of the 93% of you is your genetic code that all of us, all humans share, but more so with your family lineage and those who've gone before you that that have that go back from wherever. So there is a potential to allow for spontaneous mutations to occur. So all humans have this built-in forgetter, quote unquote. What is the built-in forgetter? This is the 93% of you that's shared by all of our genes, all of our genetics, that allow a person to basically go on autopilot and not think about their actions, not take stock of what they're doing, what they have done, to just keep going as you always have. That's the 93%. That is the built-in forgetter, that it's the genetic, the muscle memory acting for a person and not their free will acting out of a free will decision. So a lot of people believe that we don't have free will because of this kind of built-in forgetter factor of humanity. We all have it. All humans have the so-called built-in forgetter. Okay, it comes with the veil of forgetting, with the veil of Maya, as they also call it. It allows for the ability to have total free will on this planet. Yet the irony of this, almost like a joke, is that we operate within these physical suits of insulation, the body, the clay form of the body, subject to the conditioning of all the other free will beings who went before us,
who otherwise shared the genetic code that created the individual. So your family lineage has is made up of a bunch of free will decisions made by people before you. However, they may not have realized that they had free will. They acted believing they acted out of their free will from the expectations of the family members, the people around them, or relatives, these kind of things. um, we all, to some point, forget our divine nature here on earth. We forget our mission here. We forget how to properly act. Specifically, the addict's most glaring forget is that we forget the horrible act, or the horrible side of active addiction. Sorry. We forget how bad it got. We forget all that we lost and all that we gave away. We can easily forget how miraculous was the miracle that saved us, that saved our life. The miracle can become the mundane. When we lose focus of what's most important, we are turning mundane that which is otherwise a wonderful gift. Living life on earth is a gift. This planet herself is a wonderful place. Who just wants life to grow here? Earth just wants life to grow here. Big deal though, right? Some people consider, like plants, weeds growing in the crack of the asphalt, that it's no big deal and it's even a nuisance. It's a miracle, asphalt is a poison, and yet these things are growing out of it. The asphalt didn't poison it entirely. There's things that will actually grow within a field of poisons and toxins. That to me is pretty miraculous. Okay. If my perspective is that it's all meaningless and it's all crap here, then the most wonderful and delicate of mysteries and miracles do I miss. Human thinking at its best makes this wonderful planet and her gift resemble a crap pile, which is otherwise meaningless. The gift of life is never meaningless. Whatever actions we do to prolong our life and that of others is meaningful. All actions applied with consciousness and a willing intention, a willing knowing, are meaningful. What is random to you may be the applied will of another being that you just simply cannot see. All physical objects, coherent structures have meaning, even if that meaning is hidden to you. Humans get addicted to and fixated upon all sorts of physical objects, which may also include a relationship with another person. What is the physical object which I have placed within the whole of my heart to satisfy the great longing I have for connection to Source? What objects am I using to take the place of a true connection to something greater than myself? Sometimes my daily life, my routine, is the thing which attempts to fill that hole. My daily routine had been geared toward, if my daily routine had been geared toward using, it's a dangerous decision to once again allow my daily routine to fill in the hole in my heart. So a lot of people, they're new in the program and they just decide, if I just work a lot, if I spend a lot of hours working, then I don't have time to use. It's a very common thing that, if I invest time in my family and just, do that, then I'm not gonna have to worry about, going to meetings, or, I won't have to use, or, so one thing is substituted for the thing that should be in the void of the hole in your heart. I have a built-in forgetter which never stops. Hmm. Yep, that's what we call it. I have a built-in forgetter which never stops. It to never ceases to remind me that a drink is always a good option. I forget how bad that option is. I glorify the first drink. I minimize the last drink. I lengthen the time that I took in between drinks to normalize, like other people would do. You know, one cocktail in an hour at the bar. That's what the rest of them do. You know, what the non-alcoholics do. If I could just do that, I drink like the rest of them. I could drink like a regular person. The myths, the lies I tell myself are part of the built-in forgetter. Okay, for alcoholics and addicts, it's different. That built-in forgetter is not just the genetics of my family who are alcoholics and damaged people going way back, but there's also the added element to this of I've reached a pickle point and I can't go back. So my genes, my genetic lineage is on one hand directing my actions, but then I willfully am disregarding the negative part of what happened or what would happen when I use. So this is when we talk about the built-in forgetter. That's, you know, a large part that I forget what happens when I take a drink, and I minimize it and blah blah blah, all this stuff. My miracle can get old rather quickly. So I can forget the miracle rapidly. My miracle can get old rather quickly. I can forget where I've been, what I was like, what I did, who I double crossed, when I am unable or unwilling to share with others. So if I don't pick up the phone, if I don't go to a meeting, if I don't make myself vulnerable, if I don't talk, I'm not working a program and a pathway of recovery. I may become a victim to my self image. How I look is more important than what I say. Right? I don't want people to think I'm vulnerable. I want people to think I'm good. You know, I'm good. 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 No, I'm good. I'm fine. Fine. You hear that a lot. No, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. No, I'm fine. uh, Sandpaper is fine. Us in the program, fine is effed up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. Or fearful, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. Fine. For us in the program, I'm fine. You hear someone keep talking about I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. Yeah, well, you're not fine. Otherwise, you'd find another word than fine to explain how you're doing. No, that's one of those code words. It's an acronym. Fine. Fearful, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. So if one of those things pops up, right? I'm fine, the self-image, I'm fine, uh, then that is taking the place of healing the void in my heart, right? That my self-image, I'm fine, may take the place of the hurt that's there. And it's a cover, if you will. It's a ruse. There's another word for it. Trying to think of what the technical phrase is. It's not disassociation. There's another word for it that you're putting that up. It's, you know, like, oh, I'm fine, so that people won't question you. They won't ask any further. Coping mechanism, I think, is one of the phrases that for what that is. My self-image may become the thing that I use to fill that hole. I might, if I have a healthy way of looking at this, I think I might see this as pride getting in my own way.
I'm a victim of my own pride. I think that's a way to put it. Or worse, I don't think of it and wind up letting my self-image run the show. This is what we get otherwise. This is what I might otherwise refer to as self-reliance. It's when I'm saying I'm fine, so that you don't have to ask me any further about myself. That's self-reliance. I'm not letting you in. I'm not being vulnerable. I'm not telling you that I'm not okay, that I'm really feeling miserable, and I feel like jumping off the bridge. No, I'm actually not fine. I'm somewhat suicidal right now, right? But we put up the fine because I don't want to tell people that, because then they're going to ask, they're going to be concerned, and I don't want them to be concerned because they might want to help me, and I don't want anyone to help me. I'm fine. I'm just fine. If you could accept that I'm fine, then life would just be okay. So get off of my back. That's how we treat people who are concerned about us. May or may not. But in the state of mind that we're at there, that's probably how we will treat the people who are concerned about us. Meditation of itself is the way that my will or my sense of self becomes right-sized. Among other things, it does, so that my sense of self does not try to fill that hole in my heart. I had a difficult time trying to figure out what I meant there. And I couldn't rewrite it better. I worked on it and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to leave it and figure it out on the fly. Meditation itself is it's a practice of getting my sense of self, my will, what I want, in line with doing the program, which assumedly is the will of my higher power. And if you are at the point of the love of the group as your higher power, well, the love of the group for you is you not drinking, you not taking a drug, you not killing yourself with destructive behavior, you spending time meditating on the proper way to lead your life. And there's different types of meditations, which we can get into, but it all boils down to the same thing of mindfulness on what you're doing and not being mindful of guilt and shame and remorse from drinking yesterday when you promised you wouldn't, or such things. So my will, my sense of self becomes right-sized. What I want to do, what I am doing that is right for myself. All right, and I think this is a good point to pause this. There's two, when you look at esoteric literature and these things, like the Vedanta, I had the book Man and His Coming according to the Vedanta, and you start reading it, theosophy and anthroposophy and all these things, spiritual traditions. There's two phrases that kind of stick out. There's self, and then there's personality. They're not the same. Okay. And this is one of the things that the ancient texts help people to work through. That one is a principle of individuation. One is the principle of individualization that allows you to have the thought of me and mine, and the other is your directed will of acting on that principle. So there's the difference between self and personality. I'm not going to talk too much about this, but the Egyptian Book of the Dead, which is not the same thing as the Tibetan Book of the Dead, the Bardo Thaytal, the Egyptian Book of the Dead is primarily to help the kings on their journey to the next life. But
it also is the belief that this life here is preparation for the next life, going on into the next world. And so all of the kings, all of their preparation was to be, to become king in the next world. Okay. Now, what is interesting about this, the point of what all of this is interesting about that, is that they have 9 different souls. There's 9 different aspects to the human. It's like layers of an onion, but they're successively more dense. So there's 9 different layers to a human that to a human being that eventually will may or may not be developed. That as the king, your job is to develop these 9 different individual aspects of your personality that are, like I said, like nested dolls, or you know um layers of an onion. All right. So one of the layers of the onion, of one of the souls of the king, of the individual, of the human, is the personality. Your personality itself is a living thing. Some people have a personality that is larger than life and seems to operate by itself without filters, without, it's some people have that personality that is just larger than life, right? Um, the the personality, and the words are like uh cat, bat, I can't remember all the words for the souls. Right? It's been a little while since I've studied that. The name, King's name is a soul, has a soul. Your name lives on. Your memories live on with your name. It's a thing. So your personality, what you did, the thing that makes you unique is your personality. What makes you different than anyone else? What has made you unique and memorable, right? This is your personality. Right? What have you done with your free will that's made you unique and individual? This gets measured by a feather after you die. Put your personality against the feather, and if your personality is heavier than a feather, then you're not moving on. Self is different, right? Your personality is formed by or caused by ego, me, mine, what I own, what's mine. All that all that I survey, I am all that I survey, or I own all I survey. I forget what that phrase is, but like when I look out at something and, oh, I know what's happening there with that phenomena, like the volcano. Oh, I know all about that. Right? This is your personality, Mr. Know-it-all, Mrs. Know-it-all, the Karen type personality, right? These are your actions and your interactions with others. To the difference between personality and self is personality is what you do, what individual actions you do to distinguish yourselves from others. That's personality. Self is what individual distinctive actions do you do that include yourself into your group, your tribe. One is, no, I'm different from you, right? That's personality, how I distinguish myself from the field. I'm just better than everyone because I'm just better. Don't you know that? Can't you see that? That's personality, right? Which is ego, that's powered by ego. That is the ego in action, is your personality. Whereas self, my sense of self, does not depend on me owning a bunch of shit and letting it go to waste. so no one else will have it. Sense of self is, hey, let me get this building and we can all work on it together, right? This is my plan, but I want all of us to share in this, as opposed to I'm buying the building and you paying me rent, and you're, like, they're two different type of things. They could go together, they might go, they may or may not ever go together. But in the work of the spiritual work, that's what they talk about, of development of a person. And that last step is ego, and what you know, and what you're holding on to, and what you can believe in. These are all important phases, but they're important. It's like a door, sort of. That's that doorway that you have to go through, is that kind of solid space that you're holding in your head, that's here in front of anything else that you see. Self-reliance, that self-image standing in the way, right? Of I'm fine, instead of being open and honest and vulnerable and letting people know you're not fine. My sense of, so that, among other things, so my sense of self does not try to fill that hole in my heart. Meditation itself is an active pursuit. It is not a thing, nor a physical object, nor is it a position, nor is it any one particular activity. We can often unwittingly substitute the idea of 5 minutes of meditation as a thing rather than a force which we can tap into. An object does not fill the hole that I've been talking about. But I depend upon a power greater than myself to help me heal. When I minimize the miracle and logically explain it, this turns it into a common object, that miracle, easily explainable. The miracle becomes the mundane. It is easy to get complacent, for us to give into the 93% of the genetic predisposition of the physical matrix, which leads us into apathy, the pathway of apathy. That which we can't see or immediately sense will tend to get turned into the mundane. So anything that is, mysterious and could be wonderful and miracle gets turned into the mundane. I know that. I can explain that. That's no big deal. Don't pay attention. That's nothing. Nothing to see here. And I have something I say, how do I say this? The word complacent. I use this expression. The phrase "I got complacent" is another way to say the program got boring. My spiritual pathway got boring. Stopped being exciting. So I grew complacent. Pathway didn't get boring. I got complacent. But we say that. We impose what we did upon our pathway or whatever, that it's the pathway's fault. The program got boring. Other people were just turds, and I had to drink over them, and all of this stuff. And so these are things we rationalize after the fact or even before the fact. The miracle becomes the mundane. And I have enough mundane things in my heart, and I no longer want to find the miracle, put it that way. That which we can't see or immediately sense gets turned into the mundane. If I can't figure it out, that's nothing. The tendency towards the mundane is the nature of the physical condition of life on earth. Occupying life within the physical realm is the shitification or meaninglessness of life inside the insulation suit. It's extremely difficult to maintain the dimensions. Okay, all right. Getting a little complicated here. All right? And maybe note there. It's extremely difficult to maintain the dimensions without the constraints of densities. And I have videos, I have writing about where I talk about this, and the difference between the densities and the dimensions. Okay, and this is something I've been bringing out more and more as time is getting close to go time. This is something that's important for people to know. So I've been dealing more with the dimensions and the densities, without the constraints of the densities. Invisible energies, forces, principles are difficult to comprehend for a human without personalizing and internalizing it. Dimensions are unrestrained, theoretical, invisible forces unless enacted upon by a density such as your will or intention or a measurement, a personality, etc. These forces get abstracted to be personalized and utilized by the individual. Okay, so I think that's probably a good place to leave off for some music, right? Oh.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 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 Monday,
Okay, let's bring it back home. Ready? Oh, please. Okay, we're back. Okay. 2:22:22. Perfect. All right. So the next section is follow the pathway with heart. I think that's a I think that's something that can stand by itself. I don't need to expound on, but I I think in time maybe I will, but I'm just if you don't know where your heart is, like I think that's part of, a lot of people close off their heart. You get hurt or PTSD, post traumatic, um, adult children of alcoholics. There's, a bunch of uh, kids are put up for adoption, a lot of reasons why the heart would get shut off from the exchange. If you've grown up in a violent house, like all these kind of things, your heart will have stopped the natural flow, ebb and flow between each other. Right. And so it can be difficult for people new in recovery to find their heart, to find where their heart is. And so I'll just say that. So part of recovery is helping people to find where their heart is, to find their heart, and to help it to function once again. Follow the pathway with heart. The God of the program might best be seen as a force which we might tap into for the purposes of connection to the all and to each other. The program means simply a spiritual plan for recovery. And I talked about that above. And I think it's important to kind of expound on what I mean by the program. That it is largely, the program is at the basis of the 12 steps of recovery. Put it that way. Without the infusion of a spiritual, which is invisible force, solution, recovery from a substance is nearly impossible. The love of one addict for another might act as this invisible force, which, when personalized, becomes a substance, which can act as the higher power of the group. Love in action is compassion. We look for excitement to take away our boredom of our regular life. The pre-drink insanity can be otherwise expressed as restless, irritable, and discontent. Life itself got boring or mundane. Or as I say, I grew complacent is another way to say the program got boring, or spiritual life of recovery got boring. The miracle became commonplace. What happened? Did the miracle change? Was the miracle not miraculous enough? We start to think maybe I was mistaken in choosing this life. Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe I'm not really an alcoholic or an addict. Maybe I wasn't really abused that badly. He really does love me. We say that about the alcohol. We say that about the chemical. We say that about an abusive partner. We say that about a number of things that are killing us and hurting us that we should put down, that we know otherwise is not good for us. And yet we can rationalize with the other side of our head, the empty side of the head, how, so and so doesn't really mean it, or blah, 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 blah. Maybe I was mistaken. I must have been mistaken. Let me try another drink just to make sure. There will, if you're an alcoholic or an addict, there will come a time where a drink or a hit comes back for review. Beware of the sucker shot or the friendly fire. This is what happens when a person goes around alcohol or drugs when they are in a space
which is not what you might call spiritually fit. I may get hit with a space. I may get hit with a sucker shot when I'm with my old friends or family member who trigger my personality defects. There is an aspect of my regular life, my self-image, which gets in my way trying to fill that hole. Who or what is in control at this point? There is a process to recovery. In order to take my focus off my self-image, or to dispel my restlessness, irritability, and discontented emotional state, I need to hand over the focus and control. If it is not myself nor my will, then who or what am I handing over control to? What is control? Is this power or is this direction? Who or what is in control of my actions? Who or what is directing me to do whatever I do? Are the negative words of others directing my actions? Am I reacting rather than responding? What part of myself is reacting? Are my responses based upon anger or deep emotional feelings, on resentment? How hurt do I feel after the interactions with others? Or maybe some people in particular. What do they do? How do they trigger us? If my reaction to external stimuli is to revert back to old habits, destructive habits, self-destructive habits, then I am on the pathway to a slip, either a sip or a hit. And SLIP is one of those acronyms, SLIP, sobriety less important priority, SLIP. If we listen to enough of those who have, quote, gone back out to do more research, we start to hear what might be best described as a script. We have a script for recovery, and then there's a script for relapse. Which one are you writing and which one are you reading from? It does not, it takes not many small things done continuously, periodically, to the best of one's abilities in order to maintain the script for recovery. The more small actions done repetitively, intentionally, the more we write a script for recovery, health, and wellness. Okay, so let's just take a moment to breathe. Okay, so technique for breathing, deep meditation is you time your breathing, you count of 5, and a person could extend it for longer, but you go with a count. Maybe a count of 3 is all that you can do, but you breathe in for a count of 3, hold for a count of 3, exhale for a count of 3, hold for a count of 3, if that's what you can do. But part of the exercise of breathing, deep breathing, is a visualization that goes with it. And what you're looking to do, I'm sure some people have probably heard this: in with the good, out with the bad. All right, that's basically the theory. So when you're taking in a breath, prana, you have to look at the breath of life coming in, prana. You're focusing on that breath as a spark of life, as good energy coming into the system. And then you're holding that and picturing it growing inside of your lungs, like sprouting. Then as you exhale through your mouth, you're picturing this toxic waste, the waste product of the tree that you're trying to, you grow, your personality as a tree of love that you're trying to grow, and you picture the waste product expelling through the mouth gate, and as you're doing that, you're picturing the negative emotions simply dissolving. This is a visualization technique that goes with the breathing. Okay. What is awareness? What is awareness? Being aware is simply staying in a state of single-minded intention. This means that I am not in a state of wandering mind where I am constantly reliving physical events, interactions, dialogue with others. Being aware, I am staying within the power of now. Moment, the power of the moment. As an addict in recovery, my full attention needs to be here in this moment, in quote, the now, in the presence of this moment. My will and intention need to be focused on this moment. If I am not present here in the moment, then I am still reliving hurt or pain. As an addict in recovery, my full attention needs to be in the here, in this moment, in the now, in the presence of this moment. My will and my intention need to be focused on this moment, or I relive all sorts of trauma that has happened up to this point, and the trauma could very well have been something that happened from earlier in the day. Trauma doesn't have to be something from, childhood growing up. It can be something from yesterday. It can be a dream you had, a drunk dream, a dream where you used or something like that. That can be a foundation shaking experience. Meditation, at its most simple element, is the practice of singleness of purpose or mindfulness by focusing the will and intention on the power of now. I live within each moment as it comes. Yet, my mind wanders. As the nature, or as the natural electric side, I'm gonna have to rewrite this. Yet my mind wanders. As the electric side is formless, the nature of the electric side, that's it, is formless and shapeless. Thoughts can run eternally as a stream, never ceasing. Active mind, the sense of what is mine, what I have control over, does not seem to want to cease. What is of my concern seems to want to stream on indefinitely. Meditational forms work to channel and direct those formless thoughts into focused direction. A meditational form is a posture I maintain during the meditation period. A form might be one moving, such as a certain dance step. A proper form might not necessarily be a seated one. So, for example, I'm on my bicycle. I am seated. There's a saddle there, which I'm, seated. However, a lot of me is also moving. And so I very much look at riding on my bicycle as a form of meditation. Seated, after a fashion, however, the lot of the rest of me is moving, and the rest of my body is moving as well. And if you are, splitting wood, you're not going to be seated. All right. So, I'm just looking to see if anything I can expand on this. So the posture, you have form and the posture. These are two words I'm going to, I think, explain, hopefully. I think I explained them in the abstract, but I'm going to explain them more going on. I'm pretty sure I asked this question. What's the difference between form and posture? Meditational forms work to channel and direct the formlessness of the electric side. Attention to my breath. As I practice, exercises bringing heart rate into coherence with my breathing, I focus single-mindedness of attention onto breath, my breathing. As the committee in my head brings things up for review, all of their individual concerns, we greet each of these with simple acknowledgement. This is the most basic technique, one of the most basic techniques in meditation. All right, so what am I saying there? All right, so in the head is a committee. The logical space of the head is boundless, it's formless, it doesn't have any boundaries until you reel it in through a density, through someone asking you, what are you talking about? And you have to channel it into complete sentences, and it's one of the densities we use. Or make a song of it, maybe turn it into a musical. Can you do that? Can you perform it? No, all right. Well, then give me full sentences then. So the committee in my head is there's the thoughts within the head of itself, figuring out everything going on, and then there's the sensory, the sensory information of the body and everything that your body is, and then there's people talking to you and trying to have a conversation with you, and then you're watching out for stuff. So there's a lot of things in the head. It's a committee in the head, which you may or may not ever listen to fully. A person may just tell the committee, "Shut up! I'm in charge. It's do what I say." Right? So it's kind of self-talk is how you get things done. And some people look at their sense of I am and their personality as a general, as a admiral, where I'm in charge and you have to do what I say, and all of these kind of things. So your sense of self is turned into a general despot, if you will. So all of the senses, and including the things I've heard from people, come up for review. And so part of one of the things that in the course of my day, all of the stuff is running through my head. So either I can let it take hold of me and run the show for me, or I can monitor my heart rate and my breathing together as a pair. If I feel my heart rate rising, stop, take time, breathe, do the count, 5 count. Right? And if you can extend it out from 5 to 6, 7 to 10 seconds, you'll watch your heart rate lower, your heart rate breathing coherence. That's what that is. That part of it is the type of meditation that you do for different purposes. So the breathing meditation, it can be done anytime. It should be done anytime. But one of its main purposes is to help lower your heart rate so you're not racing, and so you bring it into the now by just deep breathing. Breathe. Watch your breathing. Watch your breathing. And as you focus your singleness of mind toward your breathing and have that as your, the main meditation you're doing when you get all worked up, then you start, your heart rate automatically starts getting in line with your breathing. And this is just a natural process that happens, but you wouldn't know it, or you wouldn't know it if you didn't do it, and you don't know it if you don't do it. But now that you do know it, you should do this. And I think I could go into more detail about that Maybe I'll go into more detail in chat if I'm assuming I'm doing this as a premiere. But I think that basically explains it. But however, if that doesn't explain the basic, what I was just saying there, the heart rate, breathing, uh, the heart rate, breathing coherence there, let me know. I think that's something that people know intuitively, and you don't need a big spiel about that. I think that's something, that element there is something that you can just be reminded of, and you will, if you're at that point, you'll just know what I'm talking about, or you will be already doing it, but maybe not know why or whatever. So I'm hoping to give a little science technology behind it. Okay. The normal state of mind is formless chatter, as the brain organ attempts to make sense of all the sensory input data coming from the myriad of external stimuli, as we're just talking about, of your own and other people's, and even in your intuitive or astral senses. It's all there. If you are a volunteer, and you're someone who is, and or you're someone who has spirit guides, gods, goddesses, and you're able to operate on some higher dimensional levels, you're more likely to be getting these voices in your heads, imaginary, quote unquote, imaginary stuff in your head, the formlessness of it. It'll all be up there, and it'll be difficult to make sense of it. And so it's all, clutter. It winds up being clutter if you're not able to organize it, if you're not able to get rid of and kind of put some rhyme or reason to it. It winds up being more clutter for the committee in the head that it's got to review and go through. And if the committee in your head doesn't have a good, quick, expedient sense of how to get through the sensory data, the discernment, you could be spending lifetimes just going over in your head stuff that's rolling around, unattached, unsecured, coming from somewhere else, someone else that you don't really necessarily care about, or you don't want it in your head, but you don't know how to get rid of it. So making sense in some way becomes the sense of organization, and getting everything so it's not cluttering up your head and clogging up your channels, your thinking channels, which are the things you need in an instant when you need that survival instinct present. And it may not be a life or, completely, totally life or death thing, but it may just be you needing to get out of harm's way right then, to avoid much, much bigger problems. So if you're not able to be present in the moment of right now, right, what you're doing right now, because of all the clutter in the back of your head, rolling around in the front of your head, things that, obligations that you need to tend to, and you're not living right here, you're living here instead of in the moment right here, then this is cause of stunted growth. It's what I would call ballast. These are things that are holding you down, holding you back from going on, from moving on. And it's not a coincidence that I have this one up here where I'm showing you the ladder. This is the ladder of ascension, essentially. Every time that one of these, you go through one of these doors, it comes back up for review, but in a little different fashion. And people can get disheartened because it's like, well, I thought I dealt with fear. Well, you did, but there's still another more fine element of this that you have to clean out. And so that's part of what the growth, spiritual growth, is. How do I say this? Part of the necessary. Let me hold on. Let me think about this here. Let me have a drink and I'll think about this. Clearing out the emotional clutter, the ballast, is one of the first steps to emotional growth and to clear space for the good stuff to grow in. Okay, clear out the musty, the busted, the rusty, the dusty. Clear all that out to make room for the good stuff, the good growth. that's coming in. Times are enough. What did I say here? Times are enough for the addict in recovery who hears a signal strong and clear from the body craving relief. Living in the physical vessel of the human body, which is covered in a skin that is also a sensory organ, can be difficult. The body itself may be in physical pain. Basically, the physical body may be in pain. You have nerves all over the place. The same body that can feel pleasure can also feel pain. The same nerves, that they work both ways. And there are people, you can have a physical problem and so that you're always in pain. I'll just say that. Some people are always in chronic pain. Like I have certain parts of me that are always in pain. My feet, I have, a tear, a couple tears of my intestines, and I feel that, it's not as bad all the time, but I know it's there. It may just be a reminder. There may be a pang of pain, or there may be a constant throbbing pain at some point. My feet are always in pain. I have big feet. They're not quite flat, and even if they were flat, I still wouldn't be able to find shoes that have the right support. Just some people have physical conditions about them, especially as you get old. I'm getting to be an old man. I'm getting to be the oldest person that I know who's still alive, except for, let's see, Bradley, and except for a few people who I've recently met. I'll just say this, everyone else I've known growing up is all the people that are older than me are all dead now. So it's getting to be few who are older than me. I'm 53 now. Emotional memories. Yeah, so the body can be in pain, and you have to take care of the body if it's in pain, basically. And there are ways you can lessen the pain, I'm pretty sure. Emotional memories may still reside within the cellular memory of an individual. Many people do not know how to release deeply felt trauma coming from within the genetic structure of the DNA itself. So your family lineal history of pain and hurt. How does one resolve that? Many people suffer from genetic, here's a good word, genetic discorporalization, which is basically damaged chromosomes from ambient toxins and poisons ingested from previous generations, your mom and grandmother and great-grandmother working in the factory. This residual state of the genetic structure of most addicts, alcoholics, is the C state of ambivalence that many of us fight against as we battle against a drink or a drug. So that C state of ambivalence is what I previously referred to as the built-in forgetter. Meditation, at its core element, focuses mind from this sea of chatter. Of our will, we focus our intention to a singleness of purpose through the act of simply bringing my breathing into coherence with my heart rate, as I was talking about, just the breathing meditation. As I feel my blood pressure drop, my heart rate drop, and force myself to pay attention to this moment here, put my head where my feet are. In the now, I am brought back to the power of the moment. Ultimately, this can be accepted as a power greater than myself. All right. Third density is a world of forms. This might be a good place to take a musical interlude. Okay. Yeah, it's definitely time to take a musical interlude. So grab coffee, get the popcorn. There's still a little bit more of this to go. Hopefully you're having a good time. This is, I predict it's going to be about 4 hours. We're getting on to close to 3 hours now. I'm going to play some music, and we're getting close to the 4 hour mark. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking now.
this one. Overall, I like this mix. It's a nice one. This one is 10/9/2020. This is the Just Us. The first song in it is 10 minutes. It's the title track, Just Us mix. So it's about a year ago he was doing that, September 10th. Still sounds fresh, still sounds new, happening, loving it. All right, so I have this picture up because I like this picture, that image of the two of them together. It's just a very lovely, natural kind of thing, I have used that picture before. I've sent it to picture. It's one of my favorites. It's a little tiny image, but it's still very, very moving. Okay, we're back. Third density is the world of forms. And I've talked about the difference between dimension and density. I was discussing it earlier. This is something that I've done in one of my videos, one of my more recent videos, where I've talked about the difference between dimension and density. And I think I'll be doing I really kind of need to do a longer video on that. I have some stuff on my YouTube, one of the earlier videos I did on my YouTube channel, where I talked about dimensionality and what that is. I'm going to pause the narrative here for just a moment and say I got a text from a friend of mine while I'm in the middle of making this video. She was out camping with her partner. Her partner got an allergic reaction to something out in the woods. Who knows what it is, but she blew up like a balloon. She had to get taken out by, the paramedics. And so now my friend is at the hospital, waiting to hear from the doctor about her partner. And this is like, wow, just things come up. And so I'm kind of helping her, giving her some moral support. She doesn't have anyone else to talk to. I can certainly understand that. And so the one thing I've been telling her is breathe, keep you breathing, don't get panicked. Don't give into, don't let your mind run away with you and get the better of you. And so anytime you're in a situation, first thing, don't panic. Watch your breathing. Like that's the first most important thing to why this is important or why it means anything, or if there's any value to meditation, it is so that when your partner gets hit with something or you get hit with something and you get an allergic reaction, you don't freak out. You can, channel yourself, you can center yourself and focus your energies and conserve your energy rather than, be all frazzled and use up more energy than you need in trying to figure out how to deal with the situation, with the immediacy of the situation. Third density is the world of form. Linear space, linear time. Certainly, there must be some form of meditation that is greater than another. Could be. I would say likely not. No, not really. Meditation is mindfulness. The first step is to learn focus on the breathing before even trying to control this function. So, in other words, learn to observe the breathing before trying to control it. Okay? We find enlightenment through staying in the moment of each action, following it through to its completion. I chop wood when I chop wood, says the master. This is how I gain enlightenment. Okay, so there's a koan, a Zen koan, a Buddhist koan that basically
has the master. He is under a tree meditating. He's sitting. Maybe he's asleep. But he's under the tree meditating. So they go to him, and the students say, "Master, master, you're pretty advanced. How do we gain enlightenment?" And the master says, "When you cut wood, cut wood. When you get water from the well, get water from the well. When you go to stool, go to stool. I mean, take a poop." So the students like look at each other. "Oh, we do that." And he says, "No, no, you don't. When you are chopping wood, you're thinking of what you're going to eat later on. When you're getting water, you're thinking of what you did last night, the night before, so on and so forth." So the students left a little disappointed that they couldn't find the key to enlightenment. But it's obvious that you pay attention to what you're doing in the moment. And sometimes you need to chop wood, you're going to have to chop wood. But be attentive to the fact of cutting wood, chopping wood, and that's what you're doing. You're not doing anything else other than cutting wood. Or if you're not paying attention to it, it can be dangerous, and that could be, the last thing you do if you're not paying attention, if a tree falls on you, for example. So when I chop wood, says the master, and that's how I attain enlightenment. I do not find enlightenment through quiet, seated meditation when I have necessary tasks still left unfinished. The unfinished tasks cloud my mind, making focus difficult. As I live with more property, my need to attend to all my stuff requires dedicated time to those things which I have domesticated. Responsibility to others may include to a living space which I am renting. As I go through the day, taking care of the tasks of rebuilding from the wreckage of my life, making living amends, consciously, intentionally improving my behavior, it becomes more important the spiritual value of doing the dishes, washing my laundry when it is the proper time. Because these activities are spiritual practices, because I am dedicating my time intentionally to these activities, knowing they will all do their part to keep me clean and sober, as I give my heart into these activities which sustain me in the mundane world. Doing the job itself may not make me happy, yet not doing the task will ultimately make me unhappy and want to go out for a drink, most likely because my life begins to feel like I'm living in a cesspit. As we accept a life in recovery as being not as bad as we thought coming into it, we can accept the myriad of daily tasks with grace and humility, knowing that these are the actions of necessity coming with domestication, without the care coming from our love for the daily tasks that come with the physical reality of living in this world. We sink into the mundane of the material world, no longer filling the hole in our spirit and heart. I can meditate at any point through being mindful of the thing that I am doing at that moment. I keep the mundane within my heart as the pathway to spiritual growth. This completes the DC circuit of my own well-being and health. I, as an individual, am centered and focused with my individual rhythm. The AC, on the other hand, the AC circuit, which is alternating current, of prayer and meditation is a different matter. At its core is a request and a listening practice. This is the essence of yoga. The root word of yoga is to yoke or conjoin. In this process, we're looking to conjoin with or attune with our higher power through prayer and meditation. We have not because we ask not. It is within the power of focusing on the new, on the now, the present, that we are able to align our wills to the intention of our higher power, assuming you have one by now. It's also important to understand as we meditate, there are multiple features, multiple levels to this. And we can expand out on these levels with all of us. So the first level, the first layer to this is our breathing, getting the cadence of the breathing correct. And then there is with the focus of the mind, there is the mental clearing, the mental pictures we have of in with the out, in with the good, out with the bad, focusing of the mind. The next level out, if you can think of it as a concentric circle, the next level out would be the position of the body itself, seated meditation. In each activity we do, there is a proper form to it. There's a proper breathing that we want to maintain no matter what we're doing, in addition to a proper form. And each activity has its own proper form and its own proper postures that go with it. In the seated meditation variety, simplest form, the listening meditation, we want to make sure that our head is supported directly over our spine, whether assuming that we're in the seated position. Your head weighs approximately 16 pounds, and it can become dead weight if you slouch or if you are off on the proper posture. One will notice that the head starts slouching and becoming, excess weight. So this is one of the things that we need to beware of when we're meditating is the proper posture of our head, that it doesn't slouch. Additional to this, there is the lotus position, the seated meditation that people are familiar with. There are hand positions, hand postures, which are called mudras, M-U-D-R-A. And these are certain inherent powerful forms that we can, that we can embody through proper hand posture. And as we meditate and we start asking the universe to show us, we start developing certain forms as we meditate, and these become our power positions or our mudras that we use in meditation. Okay. I have not because I ask not. It is within the power of focusing on the now, the power of the now, in the present, that we're able to align our wills, that I am able to align my will to the intention of my higher power. And if we are still working at the point that my higher power is the love of the group, then I need to have a sponsor that I talk to about this, of how do I align my will to the direction of the group. How do I attune my will to the intention of the group? And generally what comes up is to get involved in service, to help another fellow sick and suffering alcoholic or addict in their walkway, in their walk, in their path. And so get involved in service, be a greeter, in the meeting, become a GSR, general service representative. That's a good way. Help people at the bus stop on a Saturday morning who are passed out in their own vomit. Go to the prisons, visit, do service work, give people a ride. These type of things.
So the sponsor can help you ascertain what the will of the group is, service is generally the first place to start with. Put your hand out to, someone just coming in, to a fellow sick and suffering, give your number, take a number, these kind of things. Okay. I have already made it through the doorway of locating. All right, by this point, all right, I will have already made it through the doorway of locating a force or power greater than myself. Again, that threshold that you go across may just be the love of one addict or another. That may just be the minimum, the gift of desperation, good orderly, the group of drunks, good orderly direction. These are three different phases of the power greater than yourself. And you know what? Before I close, I think I'm going to actually mention this. All right. So let me finish what I'm reading and then I'll go to that. I have already made it through the door of locating a force greater than myself. Could be love. The love and care of others who will hold hope for me when I have none for myself is a force so much greater than myself that I cannot explain. Yet, it is a bond beyond a simple chemical bond that is quite strong and obdurate, meaning it's not breaking. When I believe and I feel that I have an intelligent, loving, caring higher power, then it becomes important to communicate or to hear the voice of this intelligent force. I need to be a proper receptor to hear this voice of my higher power. We have been told that this voice is still and small and stands at the gateway of our hearts, knocking, waiting for us to open the door to our hearts. It is through being quiet and still that I hear this knocking. When I believe and I feel that I have a loving higher power, then I have someone I can communicate with. And that's what it's really important, having a loving, caring higher power that you can go to, like a parent. Right? I need to be the proper receptor to hear this voice of my higher power. We're told that this voice is still and small, and it stands at the door of your heart. All right, I read that already. And yet, many never open this door, which may be fine unless you're an alcoholic or an addict who has faced their death. If one has survived something that would otherwise have ended his life, then the person can no longer call this pointless or meaningless. Right? There is some reason for having survived. If you lived through your own death, there is some reason for having survived. Through being still, through having a dedicated time and space where we are able to listen for this voice, we're able to find our purpose and meaning. It may be enough meaning to save others from misery. If one cannot find a greater reason or purpose, this might be itself enough to get well. Yet, there's something even deeper that comes with assisting another from a lifetime of misery. When the light finally does come on, and the process takes hold, and the person starts living a lifetime in recovery, when, this is my friend, hold on. I am going to be going out into the woods of Chepachet in northeast Rhode Island soon to pick up my friend whose partner got an allergic reaction to something. Oh, what a clusterfuck. So I installed Uber for this. And yeah, I'm glad I still have my license. And all the other crap that I did that I lost.
My license was not one of those things. It got suspended for lack of a payment of fine, but I never officially lost my license. All right, so back to the text, and then I get a zoom over there, right? Or zip over there, I guess. All right, so yet there's something even deeper. So this is why I come to meetings, not because I have a craving for a drink, but because other people do. Yet there's something even deeper that comes with assisting another away from a lifetime of misery. When the light finally does come on and the process takes hold and the person starts living a lifetime in recovery, when the light and the life finally comes back into the person's eyes, this is just about the greatest gift that a person in recovery can get. It is this joy and elation primarily which replaces the rush of a drink or a drug. It is that great feeling of belonging which gets shared by a person in recovery, which is our guide for proper behavior. It is seeing this life coming back into another person where I find my true growth becomes realized and actualized. As I align my feelings toward this improved emotional state of building unity with others in recovery, I feel the pull of this force, which I accept as a higher power. The process of prayer and meditation involves the meditation of mindfulness to hearing the voice, directing my will toward intention of helping others as if it were helping to save myself. At no point in my prayers and supplication am I not affected by contact with the divine. Simply for the fact of me asking for someone else, of making contact, I am positively affected. A negative doesn't come from this. Perhaps the person I am praying for is not cured, but I am certainly no worse for having made the request for or on behalf of another person. Meditation is mindfulness first and foremost. This is a practice as it requires constant dedication. I meditate in singleness of purpose towards hearing the still, small voice direct my actions for guidance in my pathway. The process of prayer and meditation is an exercise specific to the alcoholic or the addict. Were our brains wired differently, it's entirely possible that we could simply meditate, and that would be enough. So with addicts, our built-in forgetters are quite specific to us in our specific habits relative to using. The addiction is a living entity with its own clear agenda. The addiction knows me better than I know myself. The addiction is a living entity which is constantly engaging with us. It is an urge towards seeking something which is not human, yet spiritual in nature. Is that spiritual thing an emotional rush, or is it a negative force looking to keep me miserable? Or is this living force looking to motivate me to find a God of my own understanding? If you've never faced death, you will never need to think of a power greater than yourself. Yet, for those of us who were looking for this, meaning itself is not enough. Simply the fact of surviving itself is not enough. I can go no further without this question getting resolved. I know there's a reason for me to live, but so what? Who cares? It still sucks down here just the same. And at this point, a drink starts to sound good. If I cannot replace the set of negative spirits with a set of positive ones, then I will return to a drink or a drug. Once the magic turns mundane, a drink or a drug starts to look good.
Through the practice of prayer and meditation, we're opening a dialogue and a channel with our higher power. This channel, when opened, with this channel opened, we are able to seek the miraculous within the mundane. Ooh, okay. Okay, so that is the end of this text. That's the end of part 1. Thank goodness. 3 hours, 22 minutes into it. I got to take a break. I got to go fetch my friend who's in the woods of Chepachet. So this will be interesting. I will take pictures and let you know how that turned out when I get back. So in the meantime, I'm going to Aronmix this out of here and then check on the Uber thing, and then I'll kind of end this. On that cheery note, let's what do we got for music here? Good cheery music. All right, so It's time. It's time. I gotta go out to the woods to patch it. I get over this. There's multiple moving parts going on. Oh, good golly. It's stuff. Stuff is happening. Lots of stuff. So I'm ending this. I'm ending this. This stuff is going on. So on that cheery note, thanks for showing up. Much love. Meditate. Be where you are, right where you are. No matter what's going on, just be right where you are, right there. And don't think of anything else other than finishing the job at hand, getting through it, and being grateful when it's done. So, on that cheery note, thank you all for being here. 3:33:13. Lovely. All right. I think I'm going to end at 3:33:13 or 3:33:33.